Number 10. Vampire Batman. We'll start on a Twilight note here, okay? Bruce Wayne of Earth 43 appeared in the 1992 Batman and Dracula Red Rain story written by Doug Munch with pencils by Kelly Jones. So after a group of victims met their fate in the same way with their, throats slashed and not looking great, Batman realized that he's got vampires to now deal with. Vampires led, of course, by the one and only Dracula. So Batman really goes the extra mile to get the job done here because he meets a rogue vampire named Tanya and opts to get bit. He's like, right here please, thank you. He turns himself into a vampire in order to fight Dracula. Awesome, sold. Debit, thank you. Okay, so now Batman lures these rogue vampires into the Batcave, detonates an explosion, completely dusting Wayne Manor, so now all the sunlight hits the bloodsuckers, poof, they perish, and Batman used his new wings, his actual bat wings, and then flew to fight Dracula. Bat Bruce won the fight by impaling Dracula on a broken electrical pole. Bruce wasn't looking good also. He lost a lot of blood, so he actually died, but the Batman will live forever as now a vampire, so that's good. That's a positive ending, I think. Number 9. The Batman Who Laughs. Coming from the dark multiverse, first appearing in Dark Days the Casting, created by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, comes a twisted Earth 22 version of Batman, the Batman Who Laughs. Sounds like a good time, it's actually a nightmare. The Joker here is cruel. He goes on a spree throughout Gotham, just chaos, pure chaos. He took out Jim Gordon, and then he poisoned Batman. So once Batman was able to move his body again post-poison problem, he broke the Joker's neck. But even so, the Joker was prepared for this. After the snap, he let this toxin out that infected anybody near him. So Batman now got infected. Cut to 2 days later, Batman and Superman are talking about what just happened. Then when Superman tells Bruce that a kid infected by Joker venom bit a doctor, Bruce Wayne laughs. He lets out a little laugh, but he catches himself after, and even Superman is thrown off. He's like, okay, something's not right here. So a day later, Bruce called the team to the Batcave, and he went full Omni-Man. He took out the entire team before anybody really caught on to this new personality. Weird and evil. This list is dark already. Number 8. TIMESTREAM Batman. Batman The Return of Bruce Wayne is a 6-parter written by Grant Morrison, released in 2010, and we pick up from Final Crisis issue 6 when Darkseid shot Bruce into the past. He travels throughout history, these fun crazy eras, until eventually he's back to present day Gotham City. Now the series is 6 issues, so we get 6 different types of Batman. This is like a 6-in-1 point. It's pretty juicy. So issue 1 gives us a caveman style Bruce Wayne. He meets an immortal caveman as well who becomes Vandal Savage. Issue 2, Bruce has to deal with witches. Okay. Issue 3, Batman is front and center in the high seas. Pirate Batman going head to head, of course, with Pirate Blackbeard. Enough said. Issue 4, we move to the Wild Wild West, where Bruce is a talented gunfighter, yet still he doesn't like guns and chooses not to kill. Vandal Savage returns here, but this time with the help of one Jonah Hex. Lovely. Issue 5, we find Bruce in what appears to be the 1930s, right after his parents actually died. So Bruce is taken to the hospital to recover from a gunshot from the previous Tale Out of Time, and that's when he meets a woman named Marcia. Marcia believed that Thomas Wayne actually killed his wife and then faked his own death. She was a friend of Martha's, so she was trying to get some peace of mind, trying to get to the bottom of this. So Bruce followed her to a graveyard without her knowing, and then that's when we find out she's actually a member of the Black Glove organization, and she intended on sacrificing Bruce to Barbados. She wanted immortality all along. Don't we all? Issue 6 ties everything together nicely, so if you haven't read it yet and this is piquing your interest, go check it out for yourself. Finish it off. It's a good time. And if you're enjoying this list as well so far, don't forget to share the love and hit that thumbs up. You guys rock. Thank you so much. Now back to some weird Batman alternates. Number 7. Darkclaw. Coming from the Amalgam universe where DC and Marvel combine powers, figuratively and literally, we get a Wolverine Batman double feature. First appearing in Legends of the Darkclaw issue 1 back in 1996, at just age 5, young Logan Wayne witnessed the death of his parents. So we have that Batman origin story sprinkled in to lay the foundation. Good stuff, promising stuff right there. And then Logan Wayne was then sent to live with his uncle in Canada. But after poachers ambushed his home, we have even more family members biting the bullet. So far, so sad. Afterwards, Logan Wayne enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force and soon after the Weapon X program. That's where the Wolverine origins really start to come in. Logan Wayne got the adamantium treatment, but it was deemed a failure in a way because Logan wasn't a mindless brute. He kept his sanity. So now we're starting to get a little bit more positive. This is good, right on. Afterwards, he was a free man. He studied criminology, forensics, martial arts, gymnastics, and all 127 major styles of combat. That mixed with the claws. Good game, dude. Good game. Number 6, BIZARRO. Making his first full appearance in Superman Batman issue 20, the world's worst detective and just a straight up villain, BIZARRO is the opposite of Batman. Morals, speech, combat, body weight, everything is opposite. So when you have a superhero like Batman who doesn't kill, tries to save the day, and solves crimes, the opposite is bound to be pretty brutal. BIZARRO had not one, but 2 pistols that he loved shooting around, and a chain, of course, to whack people with. And he had an upside down bat symbol to remind folks who's who. You know, in case the grinning sharp teeth wasn't enough. He idolizes Bruce Wayne though, funny enough. It's pretty weird because the origins of BIZARRO go way back to the Joker. See, Joker created BIZARRO simply because he wanted to officially kill a Batman. But when plans went south, Joker tried to fire a bullet into the Batman and BIZARRO jumped in the way, sacrificing his life for Batman's. Is this tragic? Yes. Is it a weird one? Absolutely. Number 5, Red Death. Coming from the dark multiverse on Earth 52, Dark Days the casting, issue 1, we meet a Bruce Wayne with the same origins that we're used to. Now he eventually became a hero, yada yada yada, and he fought alongside Robin, and then the next Robin, and then the next Robin. His life was taking a harder toll on him. He was watching all these sidekicks bite the bullet, so now he was desperate to find a new power, a new way to prevent his partners from maybe, I don't know, dying. So he looked at his world's Flash, and he saw his super speed and thought to himself, you know what? I could use that Speed Force better than him. What a statement right there. So he took out every Flash villain himself, kept their advanced weapons, and then used those weapons to fight the Flash. He drove them both into the Speed Force with the Batmobile and the Cosmic Treadmill, and then he absorbed all of Barry's super speed. Now after Batman came back from said Speed Force trip, he referred to himself as Batman the Red Death, where he would then brutally kill Gotham's criminals in the blink of an eye. But here's the kicker, here's the bad part. Gets worse rather. Barry still lived inside his mind. He would beg Batman, or sorry, Red Death, to stop the killing. Imagine hearing somebody in your head. I mean, that alone is a nightmare. Number 4, Civil War Batman. Batman teaming up with Abe Lincoln. Yep, let's go. Batman the Blue, the Gray, and the Bat was released in 1993 from Elliot S. Magan and Alan Weiss. When you need to protect the government's massive stash o' gold, who else do you call but the Caped Crusader and his horse appropriately named Apocalypse? This is a fun story because this era is just too wild to be boring, but in this Elseworld story, Abe Lincoln knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. But it's Abe Lincoln, he can keep a secret or 2 or 3. Bruce had a bat fly in his window the night Abe's messenger arrived, so he took it as a sign and made an epic old-timey batsuit. He's accompanied by Robin, but in here he's named Redbird, and then we find out that old-timey Bruce is actually behind the whole operation this entire time. You lied to Abe Lincoln for gold? Shame. Shame. You're already rich in some universes. You don't need gold. Or maybe he's rich because he stole that gold. Number 3, Bat Baby. Making his first steps in Batman issue 147, the 600th time Batman appeared in comics, we see Bruce Wayne as a baby. So after Nails Finney and his gang made a shrink ray, they set their sights on Batman and it worked like a charm. It was only a shrink ray though. He didn't de-age mentally, which is even better almost. So now he had the same strength and aggression as a full-grown man in a toddler's body. This sounds like the worst case scenario, but Batman was kind of okay with it. He worked with what he got. He's like, okay, if people are gonna treat me as a baby, I'm just gonna dress like a baby. And then he wore a bat suit that no baby has ever worn ever. Classic Batman. Number 2, Holy Batman. Batman Holy Terror was an Elseworlds one-shot released in 1991, written by Alan Brennert. We find Reverend Bruce Wayne. How holy and fun is this? It's 1658, and in this universe, Lord Oliver Cromwell recovered from that fever and he maintained his hold on England. Later in the 20th century, Thomas Wayne, physician to ye old Gotham Town's council, was killed, same with his wife. Now James Gordon is on the case trying to get to the bottom of it, but he believes this was more than just a mugging. So he befriended young Bruce Wayne to maybe try and find some more info. Cut to 20 years later, Gordon is now Gotham Town's High Inquisitor, and Bruce is about to become a priest, and that's when Gordon finally tells Bruce the truth about his parents. He reveals that a man named Joseph Chill was behind the whole thing. The government took down one of their own. How peculiar. Priest in the sheets and Bat Freak in the streets. That's how we like it. And finally, coming in at number 1, The Bat. Batman Castle of the Bat was released in 1994, written by Jack C. Harris with pencils by Bo Hampton. We're really leaning into the literal bat theme on this list. I kinda love it, not gonna lie. Taking place in South Germany 1819, we get a scene similar to that in The Dark Knight. A masked highwayman robs a carriage. The passenger asks the man if he's ever heard tales of the demon who protects the land, and the highwayman scoffs, says, "Oh, that's just superstitious, I don't believe in that." And then a bat monster comes in and rips his head off. Dr. Bruce Wayne hears about this attack, and at his home, his castle rather, he tells his hunchback servant Alfredo, that the beast had attacked once again. What beast? What is he talking about? So when Bruce was a kid, his parents were killed in a carriage on a road. So Bruce and Alfredo found Thomas Wayne's brain, collected some body parts, added some electricity, and voila, now Thomas Wayne is back. And he looks like shit. Once bat fluid is added, he becomes a living nightmare of a monster, and his first plan was of course to get revenge on the same guy who killed him decades earlier. We saved the weirdest for last, that's for sure. Number 10, The New Red and Blue. Superman 162 was an imaginary tale where Superman splits himself into 2 parts to be more productive. Superman Red and Superman Blue. They were great, they both did a bang up job, fixing up cities, saving the day. The love triangle that was happening in Superman comics was also fixed. Superman Blue married Lana, Superman Red married Lois, they did a joint wedding, it was all smiles. And then way later in 1998, we got to see another version of this story play out, only it wasn't as fun and carefree. Here, Superman lost some of his solar powers and instead developed energy-based ones. In order to contain said energy, Supes needed a new blue and white suit. Those new powers allowed for Superman to sense radioactivity, electricity, magnetic forces, and then he would absorb a lot of this power at the same time. When Cyborg Superman teamed up with Toyman, he split the new Supes into 2 and his personality was also separated. Blue Superman wanted to think things through, come up with a plan, whereas Red Superman, well, he was literally red hot. He wanted to take action. Both of these guys ended up loving Lois Lane, so there's no split wedding this time around. In fact, Lois got so sick of both of them, she kicked them out. Imagine saying no to 2 Supermen, you're like, no and no. Not you guys, get out of here. The guys then decided to have a race because that's what mattered at that point. Sure. You know what does matter though? If you click those thumbs up. Yeah, those likes go a long way for the studio, and if you're not already subscribed, take off your jacket, stay a while. It's nice here, I promise. Number 9, Super Santa. He sees you when you're sleeping, and he has a quadruple barrel Gatling gun. How lovely. This 1995 Elseworld story puts Superman in a post-apocalyptic future where he has to go toe-to-toe with these crazy, mutated army of Batmen. The world is much darker than the one we know now. I mean, literally, these nuclear fallouts have left Superman without his UV rays. Good old lack of sunlight. No tans for you. So he hits the gym, updates his naughty list, and when the crazy gang called the DNA Dictators, with a K instead of a C, rob Bruce Wayne's grave and make a monster Batman, only one man can save us all. Super Santa. Number 8, Super Soldier. Coming from the Amalgam universe, first appearing in Marvel vs. DC issue 3, fans in the 90s got to see these 2 comic book powerhouses join forces, making these lovely mashups of characters from each universe, origin stories interconnected. It's a great time. In this story, Clark had no pre-existing powers until the Super Soldier Serum came along. We're seeing the 2 worlds already collide. He had pretty much won the war single-handedly back in 1942 after this, but then he came along Ultra Metello, this massive evil robot sent in, of course, by Lex Luthor. That's when Super Soldier sacrificed his life taking down the villain, and it wasn't until 50 years later that the JLA found his frozen body. But even then, 50 years later, Lex Luthor was still alive. He was keeping it young with some handy-dandy green K meteorite. That must be what Jennifer Aniston uses. Super Soldier ended up taking down Ultra Metello, and in turn, Lex was arrested. We love happy endings. No beards or Gatling guns this time around. We're on the right track. Number 7, Boxer Superman. I feel like nowadays it's all about celebrity boxing matches. Every other weekend it's someone fighting Lil Baby or whatever, one Logan Paul brother is fighting a robot. This next one might be a thing that actually happens, who knows anymore. Coming from Dennis O'Neil and Neil Adams back in 1978, part of the all-new Collector's Edition, basically this alien named Rattler, who is part of a species known as the Scrub, visits Earth, and demands that we pick our best fighter to go against theirs. Rattler woke up and chose violence. Okay, cool. So they picked their scrapper, and it of course was the ever so fearsome behemoth Hunya. Alright, great. Now if we refuse this after school space fight, the scrub will destroy our planet. So Muhammad Ali argues that since Superman technically isn't from Earth, he must be the one instead who fights. Guy's literally a champ. And he's absolutely correct, he has a point. Rattlar is actually amused by this, so he thinks, you know what, instead, why don't you both just fight each other? That ought to be entertaining, right? The fight is set to take place on Bodace, which is orbiting a red star, so it's actually a fair boxing match at this point. No powers for Clark. So Muhammad Ali trains Superman to become a professional boxer in just a few months' time. The fight is then broadcasted intergalactically, millions tune in, pay-per-view probably charged so much for the match, and then Superman gets beat by Muhammad Ali. How amazing is this? Not only that, Ali continues to take on the behemoth as well, knocking him down in the 4th round. He's the greatest in all of the cosmos, or as Muhammad Ali says, they're both the greatest. Okay, so sweet. Number 6, Super Ant-Man. Not from the Amalgam Universe, but dangerously close to it. From Action Comics issue 296, called The Invasion of Ants, we see Superman rocking a different but nice look. So at first we see him and he's on the side of a building with an ant mask head on, and he's asking for other giant ants to follow him, even making buzz noises to furthermore convince the ants. Okay, what the hell's going on here? Well, after a colony of giant ants were mutated from a nuclear war on another planet, they decided to come check out Earth, as if we didn't have enough ants already. So Superman comes by to save the day, and he figures out that if he uses red kryptonite radiation, he can give himself an ant's head and then communicate with them. If this one isn't considered weird, well, maybe the next one will get you. Number 5, Centaur Superman. Superman Wonder Woman, Whom Gods Destroy, was an issue released back in 1996, and it's a 4-part Elseworlds miniseries that shows us a world where the Germans ended up winning World War II. It's an odd future, to say the least. Bruce Wayne is now the president, and once Cersei sends out her squad to kidnap Lana Lang, Clark and Lois then have to fly to Europe to save her. Clark didn't even use his powers either, he just booked a normal human Southwest flight. Gotta ride in style, I guess, no matter what the odds are. So during this flight, however, trouble came back around for them, and the plane went down over Germany. The goddess Athena then turned Lois into Wonder Woman, where she would then go toe-to-toe with the Diana Wonder Woman, who in this story was on the bad side. And as for Clark, when the plane went down, Cersei turned him into a centaur. Just a handsome half-man, half-horse, noble steed. Now of course, looking the way he did, all these other ladies, centaur ladies, were racing over to meet this dashing man. After they all introduced themselves to each other and shake hoofs, all that good stuff, they would then just raid towns and party hard. This is a horrible time for Lois, like she's fighting for her life, and Clark is just prancing around like he's on season 7 of Bachelor in Paradise. He's loving this. Number 4, Super Menace. Coming from Superman issue 137 titled The Super Brat from Krypton, surprise, Kal-El has a clone. So when Jor-El shot Kal-El into space after the destruction of Krypton, that ship ended up hitting a derelict space satellite, and then he was duplicated. So the one craft was found by criminals named Derek and Bonnie, and they see this as a golden opportunity to raise another super sidekick, especially one with all the abilities that Clark has. Later on, a kryptonite meteor crashes into Earth, and the criminal couple realizes that it doesn't affect the young clone. He grows up in secret, waiting to make his grand entrance as the Super Menace. First things first, let's take care of that other guy though, shall we? He fights the Superman, they fight, and when Superman uses his X-ray vision, he notices something is odd about his foe. And then suddenly, Super Menace makes it rain kryptonite meteors. This of course almost kills Superman, until Super Menace decides, you know what, I don't want to be a Super Menace anymore. We love a good change of heart. He saves Superman, he handles his criminal parents, and then he flies off to return back to his natural state of energy and becomes one with the universe. Number 3, Karkan the Mighty. Coming from Superboy issue 183, Karkan was raised by gorillas, Karkan being Kal-El. His ship ended up landing in the jungles of Africa, and he realized that he's different from the others after he learns how to fly. It's basically Tarzan if he was Superman, hence why his name is a combination of both. This version is quite super, literally. I mean, when he's not swinging through vines and hucking his own poop at people, he's saving hundreds of animals from floods. How lovely. Even if it means carrying them by their ears, whatever it takes. He does try his luck in the big city though afterwards, but obviously being raised by gorillas, he had a tough time fitting in. Honestly, good. Fitting in is overrated anyways. If you want to do backflips in the jungle, just go for it. Number 2, Bizarro Superman. First appearing in Superboy issue 68, Bizarro Superman is, as his name suggests, Bizarre. He's a Man of Steel but with the opposite intentions, and his powers are also opposites. Instead of breathing icy cold dad breath, he can now breathe fire, like a dragon. Now he has laser ice eyes too, it's pretty fun. The interactions with Superboy are fun. Bizarro Superman throws Clark across the deck of a pool, and he has to like fly his way casually and steer into the pool to blend in. It's honestly trouble. It's kind of like the Iron Giant, but like crazier? The new 52 version of Bizarro was created when Lex Luthor tried to clone Superman, and instead of waiting 10 years for the project to be completed, Lex released him after 5 years, so in turn now he has his pale, but still jacked look. We love Bizarro Superman, honestly. He's like a Frankenstein that can bench press 1,000 pounds. It's pretty fun. And finally, number 1. Lex-L. Appearing only in Superman issues 230 and 231, we find Lex-L born on the planet Krypton instead of Clark. So Superman, but bald. Super Caillou, basically. His hair loss at such a young age is actually explained in the comic because when he was really young, Lex-L's father, Jor-El, held his head next to kryptonite as a punishment. So it's actually pretty tragic. When Lex and his father did crash land on Earth after fleeing their doomed planet, the rocket distracted Martha and Jonathan Kent, who were bank robbers in the story, and they couldn't see, so they ended up crashing. So that's Clark's life here. His parents died in that crash, and Lex-L grew up to become Superman. It's a fun one-off story. We get to see Clark take out Jor-El and then go on a crime spree. Just a total flip in characteristics. Also, bonus points for Lex wearing a wig on his off time to hide his secret identity. Way more committed to the cause than Clark and his normal reading glasses.
In at 10, Black Flash. The embodiment of death for all speedsters, Black Flash is the Grim Reaper of the Speed Force. Making his first appearance in The Flash Volume 2 number 138 in 1998, he was seen before the deaths of several speedsters including Barry Allen, Johnny Quick, and Bart Allen. He also tried to return Wally West to the Speed Force, however was unsuccessful, taking Linda Park instead, Wally's girlfriend, which I have to admit is a pretty big bummer. Since he was unsuccessful the first time, Black Flash then returned to try to claim Wally again, freezing time for everyone without a connection to the Speed Force. But thanks to the combined efforts of multiple speedsters including Jesse Quick, Jay Garrick, and Max Mercury, Wally was able to race Black Flash to the end of time, causing death to have no meaning, defeating the zombie speedster instantly. I mean, I know he's not a zombie, but he looks like one. But that wouldn't stop the Speed Force, since later Barry Allen returned in the Flash Rebirth storyline, becoming the new Black Flash, until Professor Zoom took the title after his corpse was raised in the Darkest Night storyline. Before we move on to number 9 though, if you could do me a huge favor and hit those like and subscribe buttons, that would be amazing. It really helps us out against the eternal struggle of the algorithm and lets us know what you want to see more of. Thanks. Now, let's continue. In at 9, the Black Racer. However, Black Flash was not the first embodiment of death that speedsters had to deal with. Being introduced in New Gods number 3 in 1971, Sergeant William Walker became a servant to Darkseid after being paralyzed during the Vietnam War. But while sharing the same concept, the thing that makes these two speedster death gods different is their abilities. While yes, both are speedsters, the Black Racer possesses the unique power to merge with a host, corrupting that person and enhancing their abilities. He did this with Bart Allen and used that to kill Darkseid during the Darkseid War storyline when the Anti-Monitor had taken control of the Black Racer. Black Racer also kills Darkseid in Final Crisis in place of Barry Allen and Wally West. This was pre-Flashpoint though. Plus, his costume just looks pretty badass if you ask me. This is the kind of evil speedster that you should cosplay. Damn, that would be cool. In at 8, Johnny Quick. Johnny Quick of Earth 3 is an evil version of the Flash who's a member of the Crime Syndicate, basically the Justice League, but evil. Same people, but different alignment. Jonathan Allen was once a high-profile criminal, but got cornered on the roof of Star Labs. While on the roof, Jonathan got struck by lightning, which also shattered the roof. John and his girlfriend fell through that roof, with John landing in a load of chemicals which ended up granting him his super speed. And his girlfriend, Rhonda, ended up gaining powers similar to that of the Atom. Looking at images of this guy, you can tell that he's nuts. Like, he looks like if the Green Goblin became a speedster. Like if Norman got the Carnage symbiote and then got super speed, this is what that would look like. Absolutely bonkers. However, when fighting against the Injustice League of Earth Prime, Johnny underestimated Captain Cold. See, he had managed to disarm Cold, but the gun was also voice activated, which allowed Snart to remotely freeze Johnny's leg and then kick it, shattering it. Johnny tried to crawl away, but was killed thanks to Alexander Luthor stealing his powers and then getting his neck snapped. That's gonna leave a mark. And in 7, Kingdom Come Flash. Wally West from Earth 22 is weird to me since it feels so backwards, everything does. In the Kingdom Come universe of Earth Earth 22, Wally West received his speed through unknown means, but nonetheless he still became the Flash. And when Superman retired, Wally kept going, but he kept going and never stopped, running from scene to scene, disaster to disaster, never taking a break. Before this, however, he ended up having a daughter, who got her speed genetically and became Kid Flash. However, this is where it gets weird to me. His children were named Iris West and Barry West, and it sets me on edge because like they're supposed to be older than him, and then Wally is supposed to inherit the Flash mantle. It's weird. Not to mention that this time Barry and Iris are actual biological siblings, which only makes all the memes about the Arrowverse even worse at this point. But considering Wanda and Pietro from the Ultimate Universe, it's nothing new for comics. Gotta love them Game of Thrones-esque love stories, am I right? Okay, well in this universe the kids don't actually end up dating, but you know what I mean. And at 6, SAVITAR. Yes. As a fan of the Arrowverse, I felt the need to include one of the most interesting evil speedsters on the show. SAVITAR, while sharing the name with another evil speedster from the comics, actually is revealed to be a time remnant of Barry Allen in the show, being more of a future Flash than SAVITAR. Honestly, he's a combination of both. His story though is very confusing, in essence making himself a paradox. In the post-Flashpoint Arrowverse timeline, SAVITAR comes back from the future to kill Iris West before her and Barry get married. This causes Barry to create as many time remnants as possible, which is basically a clone of himself, in order to stop him. But SAVITAR kills all of them except one. The one he spares then gets shunned by the rest of Team Flash for not being the real Barry Allen, even though he's still technically the real Barry. It's weird. So in an act of fury, the time remnant runs back in time, creating a new identity for himself as the first speedster and the god of speed known as SAVITAR, and then somehow gets his face badly burned. I feel like I need to return him to Papa John's. When he fails at killing Iris, however, he tries to scatter himself across time to become immortal, but is stopped by Team Flash and is shot in the back by Iris, which lets the paradox catch up. Season 3 was weird, man. It's nothing compared to Season 7, though. Halfway through into number 5, Bizarro Flash. When Bizarro 3 found himself infused with radiation from a blue sun, he got the power to replicate himself as well as create other Bizarro life forms based upon the likeness of people from Earth, which is gonna have a ton of legal repercussions, but whatever. He uses this power to create a cube-shaped Minecraft-like Earth he calls Bizarro World. One of the inhabitants he creates for it is Bizarro Flash. The post-crisis Bizarro Flash is morbidly obese and is super slow, which is just ridiculous. But for some reason he can also fly at the speed of light apparently, which also doesn't make any sense, but hey, it's comic books, what are you gonna do? Some versions of this Bizarro can still run fast but get winded easily, so they don't pose much of a threat. Certainly not against the likes of someone like Kingdom Come Flash, who never stops running. This version of Bizarro Flash also has a line of mustard for a logo instead of a lightning bolt, although I do have an odd craving for hot dogs now. And at 4, Leah Nelson. Leah Nelson from Earth 9 is a very different version of the Flash, to say the least. On her Earth, Leah is the second most recognized person on the planet. She was an instant celebrity since her parents were the first people to visit Jupiter, her mother was a bit of a hero herself, and her father was a Nightwing agent, even if he wasn't very good at it. But Leah is a being of light, and once able to control this power, she took on the moniker of the Flash. Since she is a being of light, Leah is also able to travel at the speed of light, basically making her a speedster without having a connection to the Speed Force, which I admit may frustrate some of you with her being on this list, but I thought it was interesting and is certainly a weird version of the Flash. Leah also has a whole host of powers, including superhuman speed, metamorphosis, where she uses light to create solid holograms and alter her appearance, energy construct creation, allowing her to make solid objects out of light, energy projection, which is just beams of energy, and energy absorption, which in essence makes her immune to any form of light, including lasers. Just think of energy as lightning and then boom, even more flashlight. Getting close to the end into number 3, Hot Pursuit. What is the Flash known for? Running really fast, right? Running so fast that he can actually end up beating instantaneous teleportation. So what's the deal with this Flash? Being first introduced in The Flash Volume 3 number 6, Hot Pursuit is a version of Barry Allen from another universe who came to warn his counterpart about an impending disaster, which ends up being Flashpoint. The difference? This Flash doesn't run. Instead, he has a Speed Force powered motorcycle called the Cosmic Motorcycle. Yeah, his cowl is a motorcycle helmet and his suit is in black and white. This version of Barry Allen doesn't seem to have a physical connection to the Speed Force, only being able to access it through his motorcycle. Unfortunately though, Hot Pursuit dies 6 issues later in The Flash Volume 3 number 12 as a part of the Road to Flashpoint event. The moniker of Hot Pursuit would later be adopted by Patty Spivot after she stole his gear from the Central City Police Department. Penultimately in number 2, Speed Demon. demon. I remember a while ago I mentioned an amalgam universe that combined DC and Marvel characters, and I mentioned the Iron Lantern, a combination of Hal Jordan and Tony Stark. Well, today I present you Speed Demon, a combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze. Blaze Allen was a circus daredevil who sold his soul to become the first Speed Demon. The demon component of Etrigan was formerly Jay Garrick before the Night Spectre stole Jay's soul. The Night Spectre approached Blaze and asked him to serve him in his attempts to collect souls of the most pure and the most corrupt. Blaze Allen refused. So in an attempt to persuade him, at his wedding, Night Spectre stole Iris's soul. Blaze then accepted the bond, hoping to get Iris back, or at least to ensure her safety. Speed Demon speaks only in rhymes, but is a speedster with a flaming skull head that can also breathe hellfire, which is pretty dope. Wally West, which is an amalgam of Wally West and Danny Ketch, was the next Speed Demon, who accepted the power in order to help his uncle get Iris back, because he still didn't get her back after he accepted the power. Finally, coming in at number 1, the Crash. Oh my god. Coming from Earth C-, this Crash is the fastest animal alive, and a member of the Just a Lot of Animals group, which is this world's Justice League. On Earth C, everyone is some form of animal, and it's probably the most ridiculous thing that you could ever read. While his real name is unknown, the Crash is this universe's Flash. And not only that, but he's actually a turtle. The classic tortoise in the hare scenario. Slow and steady wins the race to get super speed and a connection to the Speed Force, apparently. And I'm not even kidding, he fights against characters with names like the Weather Weasel instead of the Weather Wizard. That's hilarious. I love it so much. The Crash was first introduced in Captain Carrot and His Amazing Zoo Crew number 14, which also features superheroes like Wonder Wabbit, that's actually how it's said, Aquaduck, Batmouse, and apparently not a Batman, who is literally a bat for some reason, the Green Lambkin, and not the Green Lantern, and my personal favorite, the Green Sparrow, along with a load of other ridiculous names like The Item. I suggest you go check these out if you're looking for a laugh, because oh my god, this had me cackling. It's great.
Number 10, Baby Lois and Super Baby. Being transformed into a baby can be fun, I guess, at least in comic books. In issue 147 of Batman, Bruce Wayne becomes a baby for a bit, and Robin did not become a baby. That was the fun part. We have a baby and a not baby. Great. Now the businessman on the cover of the comic says, look out, it's Batbaby and Robin. Like, he's already okay with the fact that Batman is a baby. So this is normal in comic books. People turn into babies and it's fine. So Batbaby has the same strength as Batman, so it's funny. Now sometimes baby comic book action can get weird. In Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane issue 59, we see more babyverse. I mean, just the front page, what's going on here? Superman's getting spanked, he's having a great time getting spanked. Also, why is he an infant? I have so many questions. Well, in this comic, Super Baby is from an alternate reality and Superman is still around. He's just not around right now, because it's fun. So Lois ends up bringing home this baby alternate Superman, and it's fun and it's wacky and weird. I mean, it's kind of fun. Super Baby rips apart photos of Lois Lane and Superman, so Lois spanks him a lot, and she's like rolling her wrist out in between the spanks. It's, you know, casual day in the 60s, I guess. Things get even more weird when after the baby is returned back to his homeworld, he marries both Lois and Lana. What a weird day for the crew, all around. Number 9, Harley Quinn and Harley Quinn. Do you think if you met another version of yourself, you'd get along with them? Better question, do you think if you met another version of yourself, would you fall in love with them? Probably. If I saw these curls over there, I'd be like, oh, who is this? Getting seasick just looking at those curls, ayo. I feel like I'd get along with myself for like 3 hours and then get really annoyed. While this wasn't the case for Harley Quinn, however, when she met herself, she actually fell in love. We see it all go down in 2016's Harley's Little Black Book. From Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti, we get to see 6 issues where Harley teams up with other big hitters. Like one issue, she teams up with Superman, and another with Lobo, which looks cool. It's like straight from the 90s. It's great. Harley has to take on Superman, Muhammad Ali style, a lot of fun stuff in here. Things get unique when Harley meets herself in one of these fun alternate universes, and the two of them hit it off. This whole issue was trippy, but it left me wondering if I could ever fall in love with myself in real life. Would you guys get along with a version of yourselves, another version of yourselves? Let us know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious here. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up while you're at it, that would be super awesome. Thank you so much for your support, especially while we're working from home still for a little bit longer. We're back in the studio soon. But in the meantime, thank you so much for your constant support. Let's get right back to this list. Number 8, Wonder Woman and Superman. Sometimes key intimate moments are hard to conceal when you have the powers that these people have. Specifically the Justice League. I mean, Wonder Woman and Superman, they're different. They're a bit stronger than our average folk. So after The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller decided to dive into an intimate moment with the two of them. Now, of course, they're superheroes, so this caused massive tidal waves, volcanoes are going off, people have to evacuate islands. It's a nightmare for everybody that's not Wonder Woman and Superman. They're like, great, looks like a good time. We have to leave our island now, so have fun. That's really good. This also isn't the first time Superman and Wonder Woman have been together either. See, DC Comics actually tried it back in Action Comics issue 600, but clearly it didn't work too well. Number 7, Superman and Big Barda. Ah, yes, the classic storyline, the Suicide Snare. Now, this issue was released with Action Comics number 593 back in 1987, so just 7 issues prior to what we just saw. So now we have Superman on the cover, but this time he's hooking up with Mr. Miracle's girl, Big Barda and Supes. How? Why? What? I have so many questions. What's going on here? Also, why is Mr. Miracle just watching? What is this? What's going on? Mr. Miracle, aka Scott Free, goes home to find Darkseid chilling on his couch, immediately asking where Barda is. Darkseid gives him a tape to play. So scary, the scariest thing ever also. And he clicks play and the tape is not America's Funniest Home Videos. No, the tape is Big Barda and Sleaze. Now, it's a little romantic, to say the least, the way that they're dancing and partaking with each other. It's, you know, I can't say it, but you know what's going on. They don't show it, but it's heavily implied some stuff. Now, the idea was that mind control Barda and Superman would bring in all the views, like a Jake Paul fight. If they bring in all the views, they get all this money to watch these two, and then that money goes towards them building a big army. I mean, sure, that's one way to make a buck. Maybe do an OnlyFans with Superman. Okay, sure. But I mean, if you can mind control Superman, maybe a magic show. I don't know, just an idea off the top of my head. I don't know, get creative, throw a mustache on him and a cool hat. They're not gonna know it's Superman. They're gonna think that this guy's just levitating. That or mind control Barda. It's like, weird. Number 6, Supergirl and Comet. There's no doubt that love is a major driving force with all of these superpowered beings, but some of the relationships here are just a bit too far-fetched and odd. It's kind of hard to follow when you can't get your mind off the fact that, I don't know, like the time Supergirl fell in love with Comet, her pet horse. Let's talk about that one. Now, it's a sapient horse with magical powers who at one point was actually a centaur in ancient Greece. So it wasn't always a horse, which makes it better. It makes it better, I think. I don't know, maybe. He was once a handsome warrior man, kind of. Now, of course, super animals aren't new to DC Comics. We also have Crypto the super dog, who came from Superman's past, Streaky the super cat, Beepo the super monkey. You have all the super pets, all the super animals. It's great. So Comet was this pet from the future. So he became Supergirl's pet, and then he became a human in Action Comics issue 301. This is big news. So what ended up happening now was a comet that was passing Earth, like an actual comet, now we get it, turned him into a human man named Bronco Bill, a rodeo star. Then Supergirl and Bronco Bill fell in love and dated for some time until he turned back into an animal. This has so many layers to it, so many layers of weird. Like, she made out with her horse, right? That's the thing we're talking about. That's the main idea, that she made out with her pet horse. Number 6, she made out with a horse. That's what it should be. Number 5, Killer Croc and Orca. Orca, aka Grace Ballin and Killer Croc. Now, I gotta say, they kind of seem like they're made for each other. They're giant, they're terrifying villains that I never want to run into, and the two get pretty close in the Injustice Elseworld story. Because here, Killer Croc and Orca are actually married. Yeah, holy matrimony. Holy moly. These things are big, very big. What a loud wedding. It's nice when it starts off with just the two being married, you know? No mind control, nobody's gotta turn into a baby. Just villains getting along in villain ways. Great. Plenty of fish in the sea, and Killer Croc chose an orca. How sweet. Things get even more serious in Injustice Volume 2, Issue 42. When Orca walks in, simply announces that she's pregnant, and the first response we hear is a well-timed spit take. And then Killer Croc stands up and he's like, well, I should probably go. And then everyone else is like, okay, Killer Croc, sounds good. What? Number 4, Aricia Rab and Hal Jordan. Pink Elephants is the title of issue 212 of Green Lantern Corps. We have Hal Jordan, and he's being eyed down by Aricia Rab. Now, the weird thing is, Aricia is only 13 years old. That's not okay. Now, the way they dodged this in the storyline was by having Aricia use her power ring to make herself older. But does that make it okay? No. It doesn't. Like, did readers see this and go, whoa, hold on, what are you talking? Oh, it's fine. That's fine now. No way. Aricia's like, hey, I loved you because you were the most handsome man I'd ever seen, and because you treated me like a real Green Lantern, even though I was young. Even Guy Gardner is watching like, I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna throw up seeing this. This is gross. No, this is very gross. Even Hal Jordan's grossed out. He's like, okay, please don't, stop. We don't have to talk about. Don't remind me. And sorry for reminding you. Number 3, Superman and Maxima. Making her first appearance in Action Comics issue 647, Maxima is the oldest child of the royal family of Almerac. Now, she came to Earth in search for a suitable mate, of course choosing Superman, who, can do everything in the world. So she's like, yeah, super babies, let's do it. But like we saw with Wonder Woman, just because they were compatible doesn't mean it's gonna necessarily work. Superman rejected her offer, so she went and teamed up with Brainiac for a bit before ultimately turning against him and joining the Reformed Justice League. Now down the road, she again offered herself to Superman because, she's a better person this time around. She went from being a villain, now she's on the good side. She's like, hey, I've changed. Wanna have 6 kids? But again, Superman said no. Besides, he was married to Lois Lane at this point, so it's just not in the cards. It's just not happening. Sorry, Maxima. But in Adventures of Superman Annual 3, we see her dream finally come true, tragically. Because after an untimely passing, Lois Lane wasn't necessarily in the picture anymore. So Clark actually felt responsible for not being able to save her life. So he left Earth. He couldn't bear Earth anymore. Felt like he genuinely had no reason to stay on this planet. That's love. Heavy, but love. And while Superman was being attacked in space, Maxima came to the rescue. And Superman, well, he decided to stick around. Not having anywhere else to go, he figured, why not? So this escalated in the comics to a point where it's implied that the two eventually did have kids. So don't give up on love, guys, because they might leave their home planet and you might meet them. Number 2, Robin and Wonder Girl. This next one is absolutely insane, okay? So after the death of Superboy in Infinite Crisis, Robin's plan was to try and replace him with a clone using Superboy's corpse. Now, of course, that was way easier said than done, and this failed over and over and over again. So Wonder Girl walks in and sees Robin clearly frustrated at all these failures, and he starts to destroy all of these attempts of a clone. Guts everywhere, it's so gross, probably smells horrible. So they both ended up bonding over how upset they were at the loss of Superboy, and then with all the remains of the clones just laying all over the ground, they started to make out. So while they were still crying, they were kissing, they were bonding, there's guts everywhere. I mean, sure, that's normal to a degree, but like clean up the guts maybe, or go into another room where there's no guts of the person you're crying over, Just an idea. Number 1, Beast Boy, TERRA, and Deathstroke. Hey, 3 in 1, how lovely. So we met TERRA when she was running away from a giant scorpion, and naturally the Titans came to the rescue to help. But help is not something she really needed per se. She was actually leading the scorpion into a trap the whole time, where she would then use her powers to finish it off with a stone bridge collapsing. Now when she introduces herself to the team, Beast Boy gets all shy, turns himself into a turtle, which is great, it's hilarious. She loves it, I love it, we all love it. Now TERRA and Beast Boy are close enough that Beast Boy convinces TERRA to stay with the team and train. But during that conversation by the water, TERRA accidentally moves a rock that Beast Boy is sitting on. So now it's implied that she can't really control her powers. This is a big deal. So the next day when she's being tested by the team, she kills it. She actually does really well. Then later on, TERRA and Slade Wilson cross paths, and Slade explains how the team is just gonna get rid of her once they realize she can't control her powers, and that he can surely help with that. Okay, easy dude. So she tells him to beat it, and eventually she becomes a full member of the Titans. Now during a rendezvous with Beast Boy, they both cross paths with Slade Wilson, and then he reveals how TERRA had just been a spy the whole time. And to make matters even worse somehow, in the Judas Contract storyline in the comics, one of the main reasons behind the betrayal is that she and Deathstroke were actually in love the whole time. And she's 15. So weird.